only you can know what's happening every day inside your sterile processing department, you can understand how we can work together to create a change. Every single episode, I'm joined by my co-host, the lovely Sharon Greene-Golden. Y'all give a round of applause. Our director of compliance, the queen of compliance. She walks in, we believe that she is the book. And then to her left, right there, is our director of operations, Mr. Derrick Jones. Y'all give a round of applause. And for the first time in show history, we're actually filming live. How do you feel about that, SGJ?
It's interesting. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting because if I have to say anything to
now you get your punch. Yes, right there. What about you, DJ? You ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's roll.
So you know how we start every show? You have to give me one thing that you are most grateful for.
Okay, so today I am most grateful for the ability, and I'm excited because I'm on my way to Ghana on next Saturday to serve in a medical mission. It'll be my 12th free surgery mission in my life, and the ability to serve people in another country that is emerging, they're coming up, is just a blessing. And so Karen Cherry Brown told you all she was 66. I am 69 going on my 12th mission, and this is like hard work. This is probably going to be my last mission. Anyway, I am so grateful to have the ability and to be blessed to do this.
Awesome. And then we also have one of the members, someone that's going with you,
yes,
who's in the crowd right now, Kwame. Y'all be And that's one of the most beautiful things I think that we fail to realize is that there are so many opportunities in sterile processing when we look beyond just the hospital that we currently serve.
Yes.
And I got some questions for you about that. Okay. Derrick, what's one thing that you're most grateful for?
Well, I wish I was going on a mission, but we'll talk about that later. But I'm just grateful for life. I'm grateful for this SIP Scrub Ball Conference and us being able to gather our colleagues and people sharing the same journey and experiences and just being able to fellowship together and learn from each other. So I'm truly grateful for this conference and this Scrub Ball and this experience.
Yeah, and I'm grateful, I'll say for the conference too as well, but in a different way. Usually you have conferences where they just try to pack a room with a bunch of people that are not like-minded, that that are kind of everywhere, and you sell based on the things that we need, like CEUs, right? But when we talk about Scrub Ball and what we're doing and taking the time to create awards for those that are not seen, to really be a place where you can have a great time, let down your hair but learn in a fun way. So I'm very appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of our chairwoman of the board, Miss Deronda Lewis. Raise your hand, lady. Now, she's probably going to go on a 2-week vacation after this. You can probably catch her in your casino. She's in the butt. She's the butt lady. Absolutely, she's the butt lady. But I'm also extremely happy to see how engaged people are with really trying to get better. It makes me feel extremely excited about what we're doing. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about our other shows that we have. We have Prevailing Through Pain podcast that's hosted by our founder and CEO, Karen Cherry Brown. So if you're following, you're watching live, or you're in the audience, and you're not following Prevailing Through Pain, go to your local app store and go to the podcast and go download Prevailing Through Pain, as well as SPD911. And if you all did not know, we do have a podcast that ranks in the top 30 in the country. It's called Bread to Lead. And that's hosted by myself. I think it's by myself. Yes, by myself. It's called Bread to Lead. I have, this season, I'll have some interesting guests come on. I'm going to have some world-renowned orthopedic, Lord. Your orthopedic child. Orthopedic surgeons, neurosurgeons, some CEOs of hospitals. The goal is to be able to give us a variety of things that you can listen to that's positive for you. Whether you listen to someone's from rags to riches story with Prevailing Through Pain, Whether you want to get some humor and some game given to you to help you run your SPD department, or you want to see what life is on the other side of healthcare, the business side of healthcare, which is what the Bread to Lead podcast is. So there are plenty of tools and access to information and virtual mentorship through our podcast that you will all be able to enjoy. So typically how the flow of the show goes. We have a community, and in this community, this is where people can ask questions about scenarios. Now, LaShondra Chan has complained to me that we have not picked a scenario yet. Okay, and I said, well, maybe a scenario is too simple. No, I'm kidding. But we have scenarios, and the goal is for us to get a synopsis of what your scenario is at your hospital without you giving up too much information, and then asking these two great questions that we can actually be able to answer. So I got a scenario for us. Okay. So in this scenario, it's focusing on the disposable tech mindset and high turnover by design and sterile processes. So the situation is there's some hospitals that treat SPD roles as expendable hiring techs with no intention of developing or retaining them long term. As a result, knowledge walks out the door and the department stays in survival mode. What can be done to shift SPD from a high turnover, a low investment role into a long-term career path with real retention strategies?
Come on with it.
So let me just say, I've been in sterile processing for 40 years. And yes, we had turnover, but the reality was most of my people were long-term. In fact, we're aging out. So this new wave of people walking out of sterile processing has come because we moved from just being frontline worker bees to putting it into a profession and making you step up, get your education, and aim higher. And as we started that, what happened was that hospitals did not put a success ladder in place. They did not put a ladder for people to grow. You're SPD tech, you're a tech when you come in, you'll be a tech when you die. And new age, the new generation, they're aiming for something more. You see, when I started working, it was about having a job. And our purpose was to keep the job for the gold watch, if I remember correctly. That was 30 years to get a watch and a party. Well, new age, they stay 2 to 3 years and they walk to the better place, because in some points it has become about money. And if they can make $5 more across the street, they will say goodbye in 3 years and go across the street. And then if they can make $5 more up the road, in 3 years they will move. It was not about longevity. And I will throw the word out there, loyalty. Well, loyalty has gone away from business. Nobody's loyal, they're not loyal to you, you're not loyal to them. I found that you have to be loyal to who you are and to your profession. And so what can we do? We have to put processes in place that allow people an area to grow. Now, those of you who work in SPD know there's only so many places to grow and to go. Now, what have I done? I mentor, which is something Karen talks about. I mentored people to do better, to want to be better. So you don't have to be an SPD tech for the rest of your life unless that's your passion, that's what you love. You can work your way up to being a surgical tech. You can be a first assistant. I have people who have been on my team who are now RNs. I have people who have been on my team who are now social workers. I have people who have been on my team that I have met that are actual physicians. It's all about how far you want to aim. And you can never sit back and say, the system held me back.
That's right.
That's not the answer. The hospital held me back. No, you held yourself back. Because as I've told people, as you go and get the certifications, as the young lady in the back said earlier, you position yourself for the position when it becomes available, right? I got all my certifications and my education, so when the supervisor spot came available, I was ready, not getting ready.
That's right.
but ready. But the reality is, in sterile processing, unless you're in an innovative hospital that has a ladder that allows you to go from SPD Tech A to SPD Tech 1, Tech 2, Tech 3, it's hard for you to grow because you got to wait for Miss Jones to die. And she looked like she got longevity. And you're not supposed to be killing people. So, you know, you just have to wait. So I'm just saying that it is out there, but that's not.
And again, to re-ask you the question, just in case you forgot, Derrick, what can be, that was a great answer, SGG. What can be done to shift SPD from high turnover, low investment role into a long-term career path with real retention strategies?
Yeah, so just to sum up what SGG just mentioned, it's really about, number one, the hospital or the organization investing in their teams and their staff. That career ladder, I mean, I can't say it much better than what she said. And also, from a personal standpoint, that individual needs to identify what it is they want to do so that they can request these things from the organization and demand that the organization invest in them in return. Pay is always the biggest challenge with anything, and you're always going to find opportunities to make more money. So if you can look at a way to grow, right? If you can see an opportunity to grow into a higher position, to find out if there are resources for education outside of the hospital or the organization that can help and support you in your growth, then that individual would desire to stay longer, would look at not only the financial challenges, but look at other opportunities as a benefit for growth opportunities in that organization.
So I have a two-pronged answer to that. Y'all give our executive producer Ignacio a round of applause. Y'all see like the DJ booth. You know, we do everything. It's two. For those that are looking to get to a said position, what you were talking about, SGG, it's just the mantra of work while you wait. That's it. I want to work while I wait. I'm not waiting until, like you mentioned, there's a job opportunity open. I'm going to work as if it's already there. And I got this little philosophy. I kind of changed faith a little bit to where it kind of meant something to me. Is I want to work as if it's already done, and I want to be as though I'm already there. And that's faith to me. Because that's knowing. Faith isn't like I believe. Faith is knowing. And I know it's already done. The position I want is done. The opportunity I want is done. If I want to be on that boardroom, it's done. If I want to use this to start a business, it is done. I just have to become as if the person I need to be there now. And that's what we should be focusing on. And what that will allow for you to do is to get the most out of the position where you are, right? You may not become a director where you actually are, but you can get the training where you are. And when the opportunity does open up, you can not only get into the position, but you can stay in a position. And so I think that's that one on the tech leadership side. But then to answer that same thing on the, for the executive side, you have to invest into some type of career development pathway in some form or fashion, because it's just a natural understanding that if you're the person that developed the talent, they will have a little bit more allegiance, maybe not loyalty, allegiance to not letting you down and fulfilling their obligation toward the facility and getting the best. And like I would tell anybody, I would much rather invest in developing talent. If I'm only going to get 3 years out of you, I want to get 3 best years. So if I'm investing in your talent, if I'm investing in your opportunity there, it costs less for me to invest in your leadership development than it does for me to replace you every 16 weeks or every 13 weeks. And so if you're an executive out there and you're watching a live show and you get a clip of this and you're looking at it, one of the biggest things you have to understand is throughout your entire organization, you have to have a talent development plan. You have to know what the people in your organization, who they want to be, and invest in those people becoming who they want to be within your organization. And as a leader, it is our job to remind them, we talked about this yesterday, to remind that person of who they want to be. And you want to be a doctor, anytime they're in sterile processing, cutting corners, and you told me you wanted to be a doctor, I wouldn't imagine you would accept that if you were the surgeon. And so a lot of times, leading, especially in this place, and getting people to stay with you long term, is constantly being the person that reminds people of who they want to become. And as long as they feel like under you, they can still become that person, they'll stay. But they feel like you're the one that's blocking them from becoming that person, that's when you'll start to see a lot of turnover and people not willing to stay. And so that's one of the biggest things I wanted to be able to take from that. Is there any other points I want to make on that? Or?
I'm good.
So we have scenario number 2. Now this is your favorite. Because SGG is really your favorite. Because it's the scenario of certification versus experience. And the situation is there's veteran SPD techs without certifications that are being pushed out in favor of newly certified but inexperienced hires, creating resentment and skill gaps. The question is, how should leaders balance certification requirements with real-world experience, and what role should mentorship play in bridging the divide?
Okay, I don't know where these questions come from. I have had the ability to deal with people where I came into a hospital brand new, and I had someone who was senior who opted to not be certified for whatever reason. And I get new people in who are certified. Now understand, certification is just the basic knowledge, give you enough knowledge not to kill somebody. It doesn't mean you know all right away. And I think that's the disclaimer or the oxymoron we have about certification. Certification is your end. It means that you did do some study, because this is an on-the-job type of profession. You did do some book work, and from the book work, you took a test that said you were entry level. Entry is the key word here, level, to come in and to learn this. It's all about experience. Now I have a senior tech that's been here 20 years, that's not certified, that learned it technically without the book. As long as they're doing it correctly, I'm not ever getting rid of the person know where the bones are buried. That don't make sense. I'm going to keep that person, but I have always tried to motivate that person to get the certification, because in every hospital I've worked in, certification brought you at least $2 more an hour. So to be a senior tech and not make the money because you just aren't certified, to me didn't make sense. Techs that come in that are already certified, for me, if anybody knows me, you got to prove yourself. The little CRCST behind your name means nothing to me. I want to see what you know. I want you to be able to articulate the right answers. So I have never gotten rid of, and so I can't speak to it, a tech because some new folks came in. I've gotten rid of some new folks that I found out didn't know as much as they said they knew. And they came in under false pretenses with a certification, don't know where the sterilizer door is. So I had to let them out the door. I think that you have to be able, as a manager, to balance your talent. Nobody comes in, I mean they do, but nobody comes in and clears the whole room and stands there by themselves, because you don't even know where the key is to the door, right? So you always have to be very careful as to the balance that you have. I think that everyone can learn from each other. The new techs can definitely learn from the seasoned techs. And you know what? Seasoned techs can learn from the new techs because they've gotten bad habits. And maybe and hopefully your new techs come in with the new habits.
Derrick, with you being head of our field operations, on the ground, on site as director of operations, you've had to have the balance of managing, you know, those that are experienced but not very productive. Those that were experienced, not certified, but productive. Those that are certified, productive, certified, not productive. Some come from leadership roles, and they come and be quality with us, maybe consulting, and we don't know how they got in leadership roles.
Right.
And then those that never had leadership roles before, like one of our rising stars, LaShondra, gets in a management position and is able to help to turn some things around with your guidance. Well, the question changes a little bit for you, because I want to know from your opinion, dealing with all these different facilities and people and mixtures, what have you done to kind of make the hospital, or put them in a better position, regardless of all of these, different.
So it's a extremely difficult challenge, because on one hand, we know all of the hospitals we support, they're in need, right? So they're in need of technicians, quality technicians, leadership, all of the above. So it's very difficult to, and it's time consuming to take someone new and to train them and build them overnight. So taking someone who is unfamiliar with SPD and sterile processing and the scope of the work, taking a new person may take maybe 8 months to a year just before they're really, really capable of doing this job efficiently. So when you rely on travelers and experienced technicians, sometimes you just gotta hope that they are or what their resume says. Like Ms. Golden mentioned, that certification, that's just paperwork, but so many people out in the fields that are traveling now, they come with bad experiences, and in fact, many of them are jumping from ship to ship because they weren't wanted at most of the locations they were at. So as a leader and as supporting a hospital or an organization, it is my job and my team's job to evaluate and create processes to treat that person that may have that certification, that may be have all the experience that they say. It is our job to evaluate them and orient them similar to what we would do a new technician, to ensure that they are competent in doing their jobs, and then treat them as the same, right? Some people that are not certified and are looking to grow, although they may have experience, like Ms. Golden mentioned, they only may know and understand the knowledge from the facility that they learned in. But when we go to different facilities and to learn the general scope and understanding of sterile processing, you need to know the basics. How to follow standard operation procedures, compliance. So it is my job then to evaluate, look at how each individual technician or person or leader can improve in their areas and make sure that they're meeting the standards similar to Amy or professional standards of a standard technician or leader.
And what I've seen is that you have a lot of willing and capable people. And we also have to kind of fault, in a way, either hospital systems or the industry overall. Because to me, when I'm looking through the lens of a Sharon Greene-Golden or a Karen Cherry Brown, that had to like muscle your way to even be considered worthy of a manager's role when they weren't given to anybody through sterile processing. That's a fairly new concept. Where even the manager is somebody who came up through sterile processing. So I think that we're in a phase to where it's an overwhelming consensus that there needs to be some type of standardization in SPD operations. Which brings me to this segment. As SIPs being pioneers in this space and always trying to identify what best practices are, being in over 146 of the largest healthcare systems in the country, what we begin to identify is that there are tons of similarities to the reasons why things don't work. And I think one of the biggest issues that we see, either from travelers, consultants, people in space, is that there's not a standard of running operations. Now we have the AAMI standards, and a lot of those standards, or even when it comes to certifying through HSPA, a lot of those standards are identified to the person, but not necessarily the department. So we created what's called Sterile By Design. This is our internal framework that we use to set standard operations within every department. The goal is in every facility that operates under our Sterile By Design framework with best practices directly tied to AIME standards to make sure that our J-code buster, you're prepared for that readiness stage all the time. We created Sterile By Design because we saw that regardless of even the companies that we may compete with, there needs to be a standard. And it'll be easier for us to continue to push our profession forward if there was a standard in place that everyone can operate off of. If I knew that we were going on best practices and there's a standard from one facility to the next, that they're all on the same thing, it'll be easier for us to make the petition on why we need to be in the boardroom. And so that standardization portion is a big thing. That's why, the reason why we asked when it came to people certified or uncertified, if you're operating on the same standard, we should be able to walk people through doing the same thing every time.
You're absolutely right. I say it often that sterile processing out of all of the fields within the hospital healthcare overall, general, over the world, the one department that should work exactly the same no matter where you set foot is sterile processing. I can say that now because I've been to so many countries and I've taught. And sterile processing is sterile processing. Our goal is to eradicate instruments from any contamination and get them ready for sterilization. That's everywhere. That's in the country where I have a boiling pot. That's in the country where I have nothing. The standard is the same. It is a little sad that we just recently, within the last 2 weeks, Minnesota stepped up and passed the law that in order to work in sterile processing, you need to be certified. We have 50 states, and we only at number 7 requiring that. So what do you do to work it out? Karen said it, Dr. Jacobs said it, be the change you want to see. And so whenever I went into a hospital and they brought me in and they let me be the manager and they asked me, what do we need to do to make things better? The first thing I said is, within our job description, we will no longer accept people who are not certified. I need them to have the basic information. I have nothing against you coming in from digging ditches, that's fine. But I need for you to have the basic knowledge on sterile processing because we're not going to be digging ditches in here. And so it is sad because we are a profession that's been here since the beginning of time. They've always done surgeries. Back in Jesus' day, they was doing surgery. This is not anything new. How well we did it and how many people died from outlying diseases and bacteria getting into it has changed. You see the movies back on TV day where we would give you a swig of liquor and put a bullet between your teeth and heat the knife up over the fire and cut your leg off. Well, we did good surgery. Your leg came off. You woke up from the liquor and the bullet came out, but you died from an infection. Well, we're at 2025 and people are dying from infections. And we have equipment and we have processes, but we have human beings who spend a lot of time trying to do things outside the box wrong. I would tell you, sterile processing techs, if you want to find a shortcut, talk to one of us because we spend time figuring that out.
That's how I'm doing the right thing.
How can I do it wrong?
Right.
And I've always told people, you know how much time it takes to do something wrong? Because you have to think about that. The book said, open the door. You over here trying to figure out how to get out the window. So the bottom line is that we need that standardization that says this is how you do it. A, B, C. As the compliance director, I stand on A, B, C. You can't tell me about X.
Sure.
Because I don't understand. We still at A. How did you get to X? It's all about, at the end of the day, it's about the patient. It is about saving money, being able to spend money correctly. You have to know that. As a person in SPD, what we didn't know when I came up was how to do a budget. Nobody asked me about a budget. They just say get the tray ready. Well, then I had to go to classes and learn what did we need, how much did it cost, why was it important, and how could I leverage that against, I need a new machine, but I need 2 techs. And I had to be able to budget that. The machine would go into the budget for the next fiscal year, but I need the tech to that. And so I think that standardization, which is a word that we use, it says we're all going to do things exactly the same. If we were standardized, this field would be so much better. Because if you went to hospital A, the door is to the right. You go to hospital Z, the door is to the right. You go to hospital X, the door is to the right. And you're able to function. What happens is as we have travelers, we have people that come from hospitals and places that have done things wrong, and they bring those bad habits in to your place. And I think we have a verbiage we've used that the SIPS way. What I want you to do when you get to me is the SIPS way. Throw all that other stuff out the door. I don't want to hear about how you did it in New York. Use the SIPS way. And if you do it the SIPS way, whenever you go to a SIPS company, you know what the answer is. And our patients benefit from standardization in this field. I can't speak about other job fields, I don't know, but in the field of sterilization processes, for instrumentation, for the care of the patient, standardization is paramount.
And Derrick, we call you the JCO killer. That's Joint Commission. They don't know what JCO is. Because we put you in some pickles, you know, that we just said, figure it out. And he's like, oh man, all right, I got it, Doc.
Right.
You can count on me.
Right.
But in all seriousness, for those that are running hospitals or those that are trying to take good information back, let's talk about the importance of doing monthly JCO readiness assessment, just internally, and how that can change the way hospitals are actually can be more proactive to the issues at hand.
Well, you're only as strong as your team, so shout out to my team. They know who they are. But Joint Commission can be challenging, and some things that we can do just to ensure that our teams and our staff are ready is we really need to incorporate standardization, and not just standardization as far as the tech work and processes that they're doing day to day, but we're talking about how we audit the frequency, how the audits reoccur, or how often we are auditing, from our equipment to our things that normally come up during the Joint Commission survey, which is related to scope processing. We really need to put emphasis on checking the checker, right? We can't get to a point to where Joint Commission is in the building and we're trying to find scope logs and records and trying to fill in missing dates at that point, because we begin to put ourselves in a situation to where things will start to unravel. So with Sterile By Design and many of the things developed in this new standardization, there are so many opportunities that we can create, or processes that we can input into our programs, into our hospitals, that will really give our leaders and our managers an opportunity to step up and be a part of the readiness, the Joint Commission readiness, well before a visit occurs or just our annual visits. And things such as developing our staffs, teaching our employees on how to answer the questions, having charts posted in the decontamination area, and then just ongoing, continuing, and creating schedules for us to monitor these things going forward.
Yeah, I think we can tell who goes to the doctor and get checkups often.
Right.
Based on how you run your department.
Yes.
Because the purpose of going to the doctor is so that I can catch anything before it metastasizes or gets larger. But a lot of times we run in these spaces of out of sight, out of mind. And that is where all of the stress and the craziness comes from. Now,
That's not acceptable.
It's not.
You have to work every day as if they're coming today.
Yeah.
That's fair to the patient, right? You work as if you're gonna be the patient today. So, you know, I can't wait till tomorrow to start doing it right. I have never in 40 years, now for the first 20 they didn't even come to SPD, but once they started coming to sterile processing, I have never failed a Joint Commission survey because we do it right every day. I don't have time to get you ready in 6 months.
That's right.
Because you know, human beings are slow. And you have bad habits and 21 days to learn a new habit, and we got 45 habits to learn. So what I found when I went in, this is just me, is that if we just do it right every day, I don't have to worry. I've had surveyors come in and they call and say, Ms. Golden, the surveyors are here. You know how it is. They walk in the morning. They say, good morning. The Joint Commission is in the house. Everybody start running. Some folks is hiding. Some people is hiding. Some people get sick. I mean, all kinds of
they hide.
something.
They do this right here, as you do.
That's it. That's it. People are gone. We say, I know Dr. Jake was here. He's gone. And so why have to worry about that if you just do it right every day? And so I would not even be in the department. They would call and say, Ms. Golden, the Joint Commission's in your department. I'm like, so what? My team better know what the answer is. We've been doing it right every day. I don't need to stand. In fact, they don't let me stand there and write the right answer on the board. So it's not like I'm going to stand there, and most of you all don't know sign language, so I can't even tell you the answer that you need. So if we just do it right, you don't have to worry about it. I say this from a personal standpoint. I've been the patient, and I have never gone in and put my own tray together and sat with it all night waiting for my surgery. I've never had to say, Dr. Jake, make sure you do my tray because you do it right. Derrick, stay away. I go and I have surgery. I've had surgery in whichever hospital I worked. I never go down the street to Joe's hospital. I worked up in the DMV. John Hopkins, one of the best hospitals out there, so they say, but I heard they're doing some strange stuff in SPD. I would not go there. I would not go to another hospital under an assumed name. I go where I work with my team because I know what I've taught the team, right? And there's safety and knowledge. And so I have surgery wherever I manage because I feel secure that my team is going to do it right. And anytime I moved from one hospital to another, I'm a church girl. My church members would say, should we come to that hospital? You over at so-and-so hospital now. And I would always say, don't come. Hold up. Let me go see what they do. Don't bring your cataract eye over here yet. Hold up. And when we were straight, I get up in church and do the ad. Good morning. Y'all can start coming to Joe's hospital. We ready. Because I knew we were straight. So the bottom line is, for those of you who are in any field in the hospital, nursing, housekeeping, cath lab, ER, I don't care where you are. If you're not doing it right every day, you're doing a disservice to your patient and to yourself and your profession. And maybe you should go and try to dig ditches, because I don't know, it might not be so bad about digging ditches. They may not care if you don't follow rules. But within the healthcare system, it is paramount, and my big word, it is fiduciary that you do right every day, all day. You do not have the right to do it wrong and impact somebody's life that they don't even have the opportunity to look you in your face and say, thank you, I got an infection, I almost died. That's just wrong. And so we need the standardization. We need the rules. We need to know that compliance is important. And you know what? That comes with experience and education.
And one of the biggest things which makes it easier to run an organization is if I train and hold people to the process, I can sell the promise all day. And so I'm holding you accountable to these steps, and we're never getting off these steps. But I will sell you the promise of who you're going to be. I will share the promise of where we're taking the department. I can sell the promise of where we're going to be in the industry, to reiterate why this is important. But the moment we start allowing other people to get off that process, that's when we start to kind of see those things come in place. That can absolutely, and it does affect the organization. So that's why standardization is important. Because if everyone's going on a process, I know you Sterile By Design ready. Because you came from a Sterile By Design ready facility. So you coming over here, everyone should do SOPs the same. And it's funny, even when it comes to SOPs, if I told everyone in this room to write an SOP out, everyone will write it literally different. And give a rationale why you think yours is good. Like, they should know this, they should know that. But 99% of people write SOPs wrong. Your SOP should be so thorough that when they look at it, you can take a stranger off the side of the road. They can read that document and don't need you at all. Or a overseeing leader, veteran, manager to teach them anything. Because the process is supposed to do the teaching, not the person. It's not supposed to be personality driven. is based on the process. That means that if I got an educator that's educating people on the standard, it should be a standard that you're going on. They should be facilitated, not having to educate all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's hard putting the programs and lessons all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So for you, you had the opportunity to see all of the love inside of, I call them legacy facilities. You've been there more than 10 years. 2 times you've done it. Now on this side, you're consulting, you're seeing more facilities. What are some of the things, and I asked you this when you first came on board, I want to ask you this again. What are the things that you see now from our side that you never took into account from being at a facility as a manager at the facility all the time? What experience have you seen, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was different on our side versus when you were in the facility yourself?
Well, being in the facility, being in the actual trenches, where my focus was putting out a product, that was my focus. And how I got that product out was my second focus. On this side, I realized that there was a lot of non-compliance in the focus. That I have gone into hospitals now where I'm like, what? Y'all don't do what? You don't write down, you don't check parameters? No, we just open the sterilizer and go. Or we don't care, we wash our instruments in any sink. We don't follow any rules. I never paid that much attention because in the facility I was in, I made sure we did it right. And I had an assumption, because you talk to all these other great managers in the world, that everybody was doing it right. And so as the compliance, and I was always about compliance. I've always been about following the rules. That's one of the reasons why hospitals would hire me, is because they knew I was coming in, and the one thing I told them coming in was, my integrity will not be compromised. And if you can't back me up on doing it right, I can't work for you. So when Dr. Jake comes and says, this is how we've always done it, you got to tell Dr. Jake, as of today, there's a new sheriff in town. We don't do it that way no more. And back me up. So I have found that on this side, I get to be the person that says, no, you can't do it like that. I don't care if you've been doing it for 30 years. It was wrong. I'm sorry. You know, that great word, that great person that works in everybody's hospital is named somebody. Am I right? Who told you that? Somebody. My last hospital I went in, I literally put the assignments on the board, and I had a meeting, and I said, I'm sorry to say this morning, somebody has been fired. You know, they was like, oh, somebody. That person, you don't see anybody's name on my board named somebody. So when I ask you a question going forward, you will give me Dr. J, Derrick, Iggy. I need to know, because see, the problem I found on this side is I not only have to fix Derrick, I got to fix you, because you was the somebody telling Derrick to do it wrong. You know, because, you know, I had a worker, y'all know me, they told me one time, Miss Golden, snitches get stitches. I said, you're going to be a snitch without a job. Because I'm going to have to fire you. You tell me who told you, because I've got to fix that person. I can't just fix you, I have to fix everybody. And so I no longer allow that to happen. On this side is compliance. I've gone into a few hospitals, and that's the first thing they tell me. This is how we've always done it. And where you come from with a new rule. This is not a new rule. The standards we're talking about, they're not new. We haven't written any new standards. We may have written new processes to get to the standard. The standard has never changed. Clean is clean. There is no new rule to clean.
Right.
I used to not have a washer decontaminator. I had a washer sterilizer. I had just a sink. But clean is still clean. And so the standard didn't change. The process did. But you should have been following a standard to get it clean. And so from compliance side, human beings hate to comply. I don't know what it is. We don't want to do it right. We just like being wrong. And then we want to defend our wrongness. And so on this side, as I was as a manager of just a few people, I demand compliance to the standard. Because you will always hear me say, what we do matters every day. And it matters to the patient, to the patient's family, to the doctor, to the anesthesiologist, to tech. It matters to everybody. And the good part is that for years, nobody understood where surgery started. We had a misconception. Everybody thought it was about a doctor and a nurse. It's about a team. And surgery begins in sterile processing. Because if we don't do the instrumentation correctly, there will be no surgery. Have you had them cancel cases because we weren't ready? Surgery begins in SPD. And don't forget the fact nobody knows who you are, where you are, what you are. They understand that surgery begins in SPD, and instruments, I've told doctors, don't fall from heaven. God is great, God is good, but he does not drop instruments on the OR table. That is done by a group of people that prepare them and send them to another group that set them up. So on this side, it is most important that I understand how to deal with the C-suite, which I've had to deal with, how to get them to understand the importance of what we do.
And they're a lot more sensitive than we think, huh?
Yes, yes.
SGG, her first meeting,
Yes.
she came in blazing. Was like, whoo, yeah, out of compliance, this is wrong. I'm like, Lord. She got up, how'd I do? I think we lost the contract. I don't know. I don't think they like us. She said, if this is your infection control, what has she been doing? The lady was on the call. I'm like, yo, okay. I worked this hard for us to get delayed from sterile processing. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but I learned to be kinder and gentler.
Yeah.
But I've had to learn that even as I managed, because there was no leadership course for me. I worked my way up from a bottom floor technician to a manager. And I managed because I do have some organizational skills. I do follow the standards. I do follow the rules. And I do believe in learning. So I went to meetings to learn. So when a leadership position became available, I was ready to step. When they said, who certified? Well, in my little hospital, it was just me. I got the job. But I always told other people that I've never been one to go by myself. I'd be like, come on, Derrick, we ought to get certified. You'd be like, I'm coming. I'm like, I'm gone. So no one taught me how to really lead, and I am from a military family where you do what you're told. And I've had to learn that human beings, not military, don't do what they told. They like to do it their own way. And so you have to have standards and rules in place to make them comply. And so I have learned to be a little gentler, but I still stand by the standards. My standards don't change. I just tell it to you a little gentler. I had a director who was guiding me, my mentor, and she said, Sharon, she said, what you say is absolutely right. What you said is true. But how you say it, how you put it out. She said, you got to be a little gentler. I said, I'm not going to tell no lies. She said, you ain't got to tell a lie. You just got to figure out how to do it gentler. So I learned how to give it to them softly. And the first time I went into a C-suite meeting to give it to them softly, at the end of the meeting, my director said, girl, you learned. Yeah. She said, you're giving it softly. Your words was good, but your face said everybody was stupid.
She's like, you didn't say nothing about the face.
So I said, now I got to look in the mirror. So she said, what you said was good, but your face, as you said it, nicely said, y'all is all stupid. Yeah. And so I had to learn to tell my face, stop saying the people are stupid. But it's a learning curve. But the one thing
you were getting in that camera too. Yo, when she said, so when you're looking at Teams, has everybody been on Teams or Zoom? You know that one person whose forehead is right on the camera? That's her. She said, I just want to hear you closer. Like, just turn up the laptop.
Listen, I've had to learn with this C-suite. And let me just say this. They appreciate and respect me for my truthfulness. They know I'm not going to give them any bull crap. And they understand that I am really trying within who I am to give it to them nicely. Now, if they act like they understand it nicely, I stay on the nice side. But if they act like they kind of on the spectrum and don't understand, I go where you go. And that's what I've had to tell my teammates, the people I've worked with, my employees. I'm right here with you. But if you want to go to the left, understand, I can go left. I can go right. I can do whatever it is. At the end of the day, what I said what I said.
Yeah.
And the C-suite people, when I give it to them, I give it to them verbally. I'll give it to them on paper. Derrick will tell you, I walk around with the standards book in my hand.
Yes,
read it for yourself.
She does.
This is not Sharon Greene-Golden said, read this right here. This is ANSI Amy ST79. This is the CDC. This is the AORN evidence-based standards. This is what they said. I didn't write these books. Had I written these books, I wouldn't be talking because I'd be getting paid. So the bottom line is, do what we say do. And it is hard. It has become hard. It has become hard for me. But I have learned, Dr. Jake and them are working with me. Because I've been talking to a few people and I've been getting better. I'm getting better.
And so that it was perfect because I wanted to talk to Derrick because you do have this side of leadership that is not always the funnest part, which is dealing with people.
Yeah.
You know, people can bring you so much joy,
Yeah.
and they can just ruin your whole day.
Yeah.
And balancing people with sticking to the standard or the process, the best practices, you know, just so that we can stay in compliance, while still understanding they're dealing with all these different types of emotions that they're dealing with at home. They haven't shaking it off. They're at work with them. You know, you may have mastered leaving it at the door. They've never been taught it. So you have, you know, a department that's full of emotional people, which are true because we're humans. What have you done, or what are you doing, and what are you currently still changing or fixing? That's getting everyone to start to work on using the compliance and best practices, staying compliant, while understanding that there are people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and all of that.
Well, that's a bit of a challenge. The good thing about me and my personality and my demeanor is I'm calm and I'm very patient with people. And I'm a great listener, but I do hold people to what they say. And so if someone is struggling and need an opportunity to grow through something, and I'm teaching you and I'm leading you and I'm giving you the tools to be better, then my expectation is for you to apply them tools. I'm not just going to let you give me just free speak and free talk and it just go over. So holding people accountable to what they ask for and what they say so that they can become better. But also, as it relates to work environments, it's really about, number one, equipping people with tools, and number two, standardization. Because you have to remove the emotional piece out of it. You have to remove the people being allowed to put their personal opinions and feelings and bring their outside lives into their work setting, because at the end of the day, we're here to serve a purpose and to do a job. So if you can teach and help and your teams develop and understand the importance of separating and compartmentalizing the two areas, personal life and work life, you will find balance. And then you'll be able to see, I can allocate or dedicate time to someone who's having a personal problem at home, whether it's just leaving early or taking a longer break or sending them to our hospital departments for EAP, like you say. So really understanding your staff, your team members, your technicians, your leadership, and meeting them where they are, and having a good ear to listen, and then providing them the support and the resources so that they can get better.
And if you all can't tell, we're sticking with one word, over the last several questions, which is standardization. And I want everyone to write this down. If you can, write this down, please. Okay?
You got new books.
You can't find peace where there is no order. You can't find peace where there is no order.
remember that so I can write it.
You can't find peace where there is no order. And what I mean by that is, a lot of us are trying to have those harmony-like moments in our organization, at our job, and even at our homes. But you have no routine. You have no structure. There is no standard. You fly by night at home, you come to work, you fly by night at work, and you're wondering why you're still flying. Like these wings are tired. Because you created no place where you can even know for yourself where you're going to be at 3 o'clock. So if you don't know where you're going to be, there's no order anywhere. And you can't find peace where there's no order. So standardization is what happens before optimization. You can't optimize things, you can't make things better when you have no structure. You don't wake up at the same time. You're not disciplined at the same time. You tell yourself that you're going to work out and do something, and you quit. And then you stop, and then you quit. And if you look at and you tally up your wins and your losses, meaning when you actually did what you said to yourself that you would do, versus when you did not do what you promised yourself you would do, a lot of us have been losers for a long time. This is it. So when we talk about running an organization, connecting with people, is first identifying what are all the loser parts about me. Because the best way to lead is by creating processes and standardization for yourself. Am I going to show up? Can my team depend on me to show up at this time no matter what? Does my team know when I clock to work? Do they know when I'm going to go do my OR runs? Do they know and can they depend on this cadence? When I take my vacations, do I take my vacations at the same time so that there's order, people can build around it? Or do I take vacations when I feel like it, when I feel like I'm going to burn out? By this time, you know when your body's going to burn out. You know how much pressure you can put on your body so that you're able to say, okay, boom, at this phase, this is when I'm going on vacation. Why is this important? Now your team knows if my leader does it, it's easier for me to expect for you to do it. But a lot of times in positions, we like to change the processes based on how we feel that day. I don't want to do that no more. And technically, if I go look at the standards, it doesn't necessarily say, that's for you. That's
Thank
you.
you.
It doesn't necessarily say not to do this. So I'm going to put in this policy. I'm going to take this out because that's an extra 10 minutes that I don't want to do no more. Standardization. Well, if I'm telling my team to go walk the zones, how often are you walking the zones? If I'm telling my team to go and do something, how often am I doing it? So we're talking about standardization and best practices. You cannot have peace where there is no order. The only way you can find peace is when you bring order to everything in your life. Personal and business. Because if your personal life is out of whack, your business is killing it. Your personal life will sabotage what your business is doing. If your personal life is great, but you're not taking it to your business will sabotage your personal life and you're going to be without a job.
Yeah.
And so we all talking about, and the purpose of the podcast and the purpose of this doing it live, and the purpose of us having this conversation here is really to get people to realize you are exactly where you want it to be right now. Whether you're happy about where you want to be or you're sad about where you want to be, you are where you want to be right now because of the decisions that you made. And if you look at all those decisions, what standard of making those decisions do you have? How do you process making decisions? How do you process doing the right thing? And when you look like that, remember we said, if I believe that what God has for me is already done, I need to be that person today. You may not be ready right now. You may fall. But this is a part of your sanctification process if you become the leader that you want to be. This is your process. It doesn't matter how old you are, it just matters when you decide, making a decision. Day means split, side means to kill off. So I have to kill off one of the things. One of my favorite books, it says a double-minded man is unsure in all their ways. They fling and they sail like the sail on the boat. They just fling everywhere. And a lot of our organizations are run like this. You say, man, I'm not a leader, Dr. Jake. But what qualities or characteristics are you showing every single day? And you have to, if anybody, if you don't show up for your department, you don't show up for your partner, show up for yourself. And those standards are what allow for us to get there. So before we open it up to the public for you guys to ask some questions, get your questions together. Get some questions together, I will call you out. Get some questions together. I do have one more. What future do you see for sterile processing if everyone truly gets serious about truly leveling up? Because you've been all over the world.
I see from going to the world meetings and working that sterile processing, I did a keynote in 2023 and I said sterile processing is going to another level. We're going kicking and screaming because we don't want to do the work, but we have to do the work. It's going to require more education. We're no longer, as the future that I see, you will no longer be able to come in off the street with a basic course. You're going to have to get a degree. You're going to have to. That's America. Because our biggest complaint is not that we can't do the work, is that we're not getting paid. Well, when I've done all the research I've done about different groups being paid, you have to have a degree.
Yeah.
And when the world looks at our field and no degree, they feel like we don't need to be paid much because we didn't have to do any extra.
Correct.
That's the way they look at it. You didn't go get a degree, you're just able to do this so we can pay you $20. I've told C-suites and doctors, you get what you pay for. You pay me $20 and you want me to give you $50 worth of work. You would like the tray sterile, you want it together, functioning, and sterile, that's $50. You only pay me $20. The fact that I'm giving it to you for $20 is because at this point in my life I need a job. So it works both ways. If we want to make the money that we do deserve, don't let me get it twisted, we deserve it, we're going to have to do the extra. You're going to have to get at least an associate's degree. As I was in the field, I learned that I had to get a bachelor's just to keep up, because they would bring people, Dr. Jake said earlier, they would bring somebody in off the corner, didn't know nothing about SPD, but they had a degree in jumping rope, and they'd make them the manager of SPD. They'd never been there before, but they got a degree in jumping rope. And so to compete with that, even though I was in there and have worked from the bottom up, no SPD like the back of my hand, I had to compete with a person with a degree with jumping rope. So I had to go and do that to be able to stand alongside them with my other credentials. So as we go forward, it is going to require, with AI assistance that's now coming into the department, you're going to have to be more learned.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to comply.
Yeah.
That's going to be right here.
Yeah.
You know, lawyers comply,
Yeah.
doctors comply, all these other groups comply.
Yeah.
And we complain because we don't want to comply.
That's good. That's good, girl. You better preach today.
Yeah.
And I'll give you all the other side of why they have these degrees of separation within the organization. And it oftentimes, they know it has nothing to do with talent or experience. But it gives them a snapshot of how well you can learn at different levels. Because, you know, to be a lead tech, that responsibility and your ability to strategically think isn't needed as much as when you're a VP or you're a director over an entire budget. And knowing how to balance that budget, be responsible, understand how to think strategically out of situations to be able to help the hospital stay profitable, resourceful, and still provide services. So they create these chasms that we see as deterrents. And they see it as gateways to see like how learned are you going to become and how much are you willing to invest in your progress so that I can know at least you completed something at a strategic level, so I know you at least foundationally can think strategically in thought and process. Now, we do have exceptions to the rule, where you have some people that became VPs, you have some people that become whatever, without degrees, without certification, without any of that. But the exception is not the standard or the rule. So they make these concessions or exceptions, and we overall say, oh, if they did it, that means I can go that same route. And it takes too much, you gotta be the right doer, the right person, the right opportunity in order for that to happen. So it's best to just get ready, so you don't have to, stay ready so you don't have to get ready, and go get what's yours. So if that is going to be something that they're saying that this is the reason why, then we need to say, hey, let's put our foot forward with that. And just so some of you all do know, we SIPs, we're working with a local university with creating a fellowship program where we're going to be able to look at how long you've been in the space of sterile processing or been doing the thing or leadership or whatever. We can compute that into actual college credit hours and be able to get you in one of the first MBA healthcare operations leader with a specification in sterile processing. We're one of the first MBA degrees that, in our space that you'll be able to get without having to go get your bachelor's or anything like that. We're going to look at your actual hours in the field and be able to determine that. So there's a lot of things that we're doing as far as SIPs so that we can help be a part of that change that we see versus just sitting and waiting about it. Because that's a lot of people's, frustration. Like, I've been 10, 20 years doing the thing. Why do I have to start back over at kindergarten level? And we agree with that too.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that you can be able to get started, use your credit hours, and be able to get the basic trainings that you need so that you can be able to elevate and we can go get those positions and opportunities that we want. So this is kind of the things that we're working on, and we'll be publicly talking about that a little bit more later on in the year. All right, so we're opening up. We got like 4 or 5 questions that we can take.
I have a question.
Yeah, okay, already.
So you're talking about getting degrees. I know we're about to do something with degrees, but before that happens, what degree would you suggest somebody get in order to qualify for the position?
Healthcare is where you really kind of need to be. Healthcare, there are different, you have different levels of bachelor's degrees in healthcare. You have healthcare administration, you have public health, you have different levels you can get. So if you're going to get a degree at this point in time for going forward, because I've come out, it would be one in healthcare. And there's a lot of help out there. There's different ways. People learn differently. Some people have to actually go to an actual school and have a teacher tell them what to do and when the report is due. And some people can do it online, but I'm going to tell you, online is not easy. I did mine online. I was about ready to kill myself every Sunday night at 11:59.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was never ready at 11:59 with my paper, or the computer was acting up. Something was happening. But online requires determination and coordination and throughput. Because, and folks, when they say the paper due, they mean the paper due, right? They're not gonna come. They're not gonna call you and say, "Hey, Miss Golden, we looked and saw that your paper didn't come in." They just write you off. Where in a regular, I think, school where you have a human being, you may be able to pull their heartstrings.
What I will say for those that want to go to the boardroom or at the executive level, they're looking for MBAs. They like business degrees. Because, in the specialty positions, it's what we call the art and the heart. It's like, I love to do this, I got the art to do this, but upstairs, they want to know, do you know the math and science of the healthcare business? Like, do you know how we get our funding? Do you know what those Medicare and Medicaid changes actually does to a hospital? When we were able to communicate with one of the hospitals, we just talked to a CEO of a hospital just a day or two ago, Donnie and myself. And when I was able to communicate to him in his language that I knew that his hospital will receive a $5 million loss because of the changes, he turned on his camera. So we went from him not being on the camera, his VP was on the camera, And he didn't want to be on the camera. But the moment he saw that I started understanding their billing codes, and then I started understanding, where their funding was and how they lost, he popped on his camera and started feeling a lot more comfortable explaining things to me. So a lot of times we look at it like parent-child type relationship. There are things you're never going to share with your child just simply because they ain't going to get it. You ain't grown enough to get it. And I don't have time to break it down in your terms for you to understand. And a lot of times in this world of business or healthcare that we're in, the executive team looks at us like they're children, and they're the parent. You're worried about your funding. I have 7 departments that all want something, and I have to decide where this fund is going to go. But you're mad and having a hissy fit. You got people in your department all picketing and rioting, when I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do with the fact that we continue to have delays. We have SSI is up, and what a lot of people don't realize, when it even comes to surgical codes or billing for surgery, Medicare especially, they'll give you a flat fee. They'll say it's $23,600 for this surgery, and the surgery could actually be $35,000. But depending on where the hospital is, they'll say we just need some revenue. We'll take a little bit of a loss. So now imagine a delay with that. Now imagine a surgical site infection that's $25,000. So what did the hospital actually make on that one surgery? Nothing. Yeah, negative $2,000. So when we look at that, if we're looking at wanting to be considered for leadership roles, but we're talking to them like sterile processing technicians, they're never going to bring us to the boardroom. But as I start understanding, like, wow, the department that I run is a cost center to them. If I become an asset manager in my mind and we make it a profit center, and I know that we can ensure, hey, let's get the surgical site infections down. Whether y'all say it's our fault or not, they still saying it's our fault. So why not make sure that they know it's not our fault, versus getting mad about the fact that they're saying it's our fault, right? So when we look at all these things, we have to start communicating in that, which is why I have another insert. Today is actually the first day that Built to Bleed, Beyond the Blue, our newest book, is available. This book is a quick book that's going to allow for you to start understanding the language of business for the healthcare system. And that's the thing I began to realize. A lot of y'all got the leadership things. You done went through all the emotional intelligence classes that you can go to. Everybody pretty much said the same thing. So if you're not implementing, just because you don't want to. You just want to get CEUs. But what I began to start realizing the gap was there's a ton of leaders that don't know the business cycle or the flow of the healthcare system. And when you understand the flow of the healthcare system, how funding is made, when you realize why doctors get mad, because although the surgery does start in sterile processing, the patient was first courted by the doctor. 60 to 70% of every patient looks for the doctor first and not the hospital. If you were really sick or your child was really sick, you didn't look at hospitals. You went online and said, who is the best oncologist in the tri-state area, right? You looked at that, and then based on your confidence in that doctor, you followed him or her wherever their facility was. So I want you to imagine this cycle for a second, because I like to play both sides. If one side feels like you're better than the other, you're never going to hear the other side. And so I've been having these conversations with OR nurses and surgeons and CEOs, and I realize that all of y'all saying that y'all play the biggest part when we're all on one team. And if I understood this, let me give you an example. Can anyone tell me how much on average an independent doctor pays for liability insurance a year? 50 grand. 50 grand. I was talking to a surgeon. You know what he told me? He said, Dr. J, I love sterile process. I love what you all do. But let's be clear. Everything we do in the hospital is for the patient. But that's technically my patient. If something goes wrong on that bed, y'all not in court. I gotta sit in court. If something goes wrong and I get sued, it says the hospital gets sued and I get sued. When I look at my rating, y'all can blame the department for failures. If I make a mistake, that goes on my bill. He said, do you know the provider, the thing, the place where you go where you can pick and choose your portal for your doctor? He said, I pay an annual subscription for that. He said, so I have to do marketing. I have to pay to go to conferences. I had to become, world-renowned and respected. I had to invest in my articles. So when the patient is coming, it is my patient. I get to choose what hospital I want to take my patient. Then it becomes our patient. But if it took me 6 to 9 months to just convince my patient to trust me and get this surgery they need, they're finally confident enough in getting this surgery. They called off work. They're taking time away. They have to talk to their insurance. They've been coming getting all these checkups and MRIs and exams and all this other stuff. I finally got them on the bed, prepped and ready for surgery. And you have the audacity to tell me that the trays ain't ready.
Yeah.
And I've already spent $15,000 to get this patient here. So when we think about that, he said, "So you damn right. Excuse my language, live then." Yeah, I throw the instruments. Yeah, I get upset. Because when I walk down the OR, and then y'all, he got emotional, as you can tell. So we were on these little stools that spin. They spin, the little spin. So we're drinking a little bit. Okay, so the communion was making him commune. So he said, then I go down the OR. We all feet hurt, knees hurt. I'm already nervous of the surgery. He said, I get nervous every surgery because I'm in somebody's body. And he said, I go downstairs myself, and I go down to the SPD, and they spin on the chair. And Papa me looking and say, "What's wrong, Doc?" What you mean, what's wrong? Didn't you hear? I don't have these set instruments. They said, "Oh, Doc, we got a process. We'll get it upstairs." He said, "I lost it. I took myself to HR." He said, because even not having a respect of the urgency that's upstairs versus downstairs. So when we talk about, I'm the heart of the hospital, we're this thing, but you have to pay attention and have some type of reverence for the person who brings the patient that helps us all get paid.
Absolutely.
So when we look at, and then we're talking about growing and learning, this is why they say you need to get a degree. This is why they say go take more classes. Because if you understand the cycle of even how the patient gets there, you understand the cycle of how the hospital gets paid. You understand that a lot of the surgeons get paid on commission. Some of them get paid on, they have like a point system that they use. And a lot of them can't get what they need because we're making mistakes in the OR and the SPD and infection control everywhere. And a lot of them are using their names and faces to bring people into the hospital. Which is why when you get a hospital, they get a world-renowned surgeon or a CEO, that becomes their poster child for the hospital. Because people know by face and name, they're attracted here. So they're saying, if my name is on the face of this hospital as being the guy or the gal, there is no way on my name we're going to do this. So when we think about the full flow, I just want us all to elevate our thoughts and say, you know what? I want to be a healthcare executive. So what would an executive think about? All of the moving parts, not just my department, not just my shift, not just what I need. I'm going to ask myself, where's the funding? Okay, I want to know who's getting funded, and I want to play my part to make sure everyone in the hospital succeeds. And you're going to be, I promise you, there'll be nothing that you won't ever be able to get signed if you're looking at the entire value of the hospital. You'll always be invited to the boardroom. All right, we got one more question. Go. Two more questions. Kwame, and then Lashandra's next. I got you, Joanne, back there. Well, that was the coolest light flip ever.
So as a department and department leaders, what will be your best advice in building a good relationship with IP, the OR, and also regulatory?
Okay, so I'm friends with regulators always. I go to meetings and meet them. IP is your best friend. Infection control. You're supposed to be like this. Infection control has the ear of the C-suite. If you really want a boroscope, bring infection control down and tell them and show them, and they should be able to get your boroscope. Surgical services as a whole. The director of surgical services, PACU, pre-op, SPD, environmental services, all of us as leaders should be on the same wavelength. Because as Dr. Jake said, we all working for the same patient. The doctor at that point is the chief, and your doctor was a misnomer. Most of them don't even know where we are to come down. But anyway, to get them together and understand we're working for the same case. There's not a big U and a little I.
Yeah.
We are working for the same case, and if any part of it falls apart, I keep saying the patient loses. I've had a lot of surgeries. My doctors I've had big surgeries. My doctor, I saw a bill, he got paid $35,000. I'm like, what? You know, so the bottom line is this. If there's no pre-op, right, the patient can't come in and have surgery.
That's true.
You gotta have the pre-op people.
That's true.
So if the place isn't clean, I don't wanna come in.
That's right.
If the OR team doesn't know their job, there is no surgery. And so we have to, and people get tired of this word, it's called communicate.
Yeah, that's good.
We have to talk to each other. And so processes have to be within leadership where you can't talk once a month. We have to talk every day about all the cases. Because see, there is no excuse for a patient getting into an operating room onto a table with no instruments. There just is no excuse. We should have been talking. Now we may delay a case, but we should have been talking. And once that is done, after you have a delayed case, there should be an investigation and you should work to not have that happen again. Orthopedics, a lot of times it has to do with instruments coming in and being processed. And I told doctors, I can't change the process because you didn't request the instruments till 6:30 and your case was at 7:30, sir. Not gonna happen. Now understand, the patient is gonna be hurt. They're gonna be disgusted.
Yep.
But when you tell a patient, this is your choice, you got two, sterile or not, sterile or unsterile. Most patients will say, well, I'm gonna wait for sterile. I'm not happy because as Dr. Jake said, the doctor took 6 months to get me here. I took 2 weeks to get my prayer straight. I prayed all night. I took the special bath. I'm ready for my surgery. I'm here at 5:30 in the morning, and now y'all talking about hold up. But when you tell me the choices are, I could get an infection,
Hold up.
I'm gonna say hold up.
That's right.
I'm gonna say stop, doc. I can wait.
That's right.
I've been the patient. I'm supposed to be going like at 9 o'clock. I didn't get there till 2. But when they told me what the issue was, I was like, "Hey, y'all keep working good. I don't want y'all to kill me." It is what it is. So leadership has to talk. And we've learned that something that was missing, because we're talking about SPD, was SPD was not at the table. I'm the one with the instruments. You want me at the table displaying if I'm going to be there. With instruments that have met the parameters of sterilization. I go to my OR and look my doctors in the face and say, sir, you can use these instruments. The parameters were met. Let's go. I'm in a room with a doctor while they're setting up because this is our patient. And Dr. Jake, just recently, within the last few years, they're now suing everybody.
That's good.
The hospital, the doctor, the SPD, your name on the paper.
That's good.
They want you to come explain.
That'll elevate everybody.
And they bring in people like me to court cases to explain as an expert witness now. Enough pay grade. As an expert witness, I can go sit there and say, yes, that SPD tech should have done it right.
That's right.
Yes, the IFU said do this, this, this. They didn't do it. Yes, they are non-compliant. Because you know in America we like to sue everybody.
Yeah.
But that just means more checks.
That's right.
So your objective is, is what you do matters every day, and it's no longer just the hospital. The reason hospitals are now part of their documentation quantity is to take that packing sheet with your name on it and attach it to the official record. So that when they go back and do investigation, they know that Dr. J put that tray together. So I'm just saying, That's where we are for that.
So, and Kwame, to make sure that we get into, if he were to build a team, like a task force, a team, a committee, at his facility, who all would he need on that team? Infection control, OR, manager, like who would he need on his team?
Go ahead.
Yeah, you said it. Infection control, definitely your OR nurse, your SPD leadership manager or supervisors are good to have involved in that. And if you can, if you have access to your medical nurse officer or whomever, depending on the size of your hospital and facility. Some facilities that are smaller, you may have direct access to your COOs or whatever. But you really want the ear of all decision makers. Whoever has the authority to make a decision and hear your concern and who's impacted, that will hear your concerns related to quality.
And if allowed, one person you're going to need on that team is if you could work with finance manager or finance director. If your upline leadership allows for you to actually have those conversations, having that relationship with them is great. Because they can kind of give you a pulse or a consensus on where things are. Like, hey, are we good? Is this the season to ask for anything? This is what I'm thinking. Y'all could probably work some stuff out, on the fly if you have that. The biggest thing is we talk about communicate. You have to start with the word commune, right? And the etymology or the definition for the word commune means to share resources together in one place, getting to know each other. So I can't say that I'm good at communication if I don't know you. I can't say that, we communicate often if I don't know you in business or in this space that we're in. If I don't believe that you have the same level of protection of the same resources that we use, we're not in communion, nor are we going to communicate. We're probably going to fight all the time. But if I believe that you care about my resources and my space too, and there's respect and mutual trust there, it's easier to communicate with that person because you'll probably be communing with them more often. So that's how we have to make sure that we're level set in that. So you're definitely going to need your OR lead. You're definitely going to need, it doesn't hurt to have a charge nurse on there for sure. You're definitely going to need whoever's leading a surge tech. If you're not, if it's a vendor there, whoever the leader is there, if it's not a vendor there, you definitely gonna have somebody that's a surge tech. So you kind of want one of those pieces. Y'all don't have to meet all the time. You can do 15-minute huddles, or you can do one-on-one pop-ups as you're doing like your rounds. But checking in with those folks just to make sure that you're on the same page. Because as long as everyone's on the same page, everyone will pretty much protect you.
And SPD, I just want to tell you all, always be a part. I don't know how long it takes you to get it done. You should always be on the OR committee. Always.
Yeah.
Never allow another department to go and defend your issues.
Yeah.
Never. Anytime the OR committee got together with the surgeons and their complaints, I was sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Because I had the answer. I did not want the pre-op nurse explaining why the tray wasn't ready. I didn't want the OR nurse explaining why the tray wasn't ready. I didn't want infection control technically explaining why the tray wasn't ready. I needed to explain that myself as the manager.
That's right.
And a lot of you all have never sat in that arena. And when you sit there and they get to know you, they get to respect you, and they respect your department, they respect your expertise. Because in that arena, you're able to say, listen, doc, every week, you need a widget at 6:30 in the morning, and we delay your case. Could you please just ask for the widget, period? Let's just make it part of the tray, whether you need it or not. Then we're always going to be ready. He'll respect that, because now he knows we're going to be ready. So I'm just saying, and then you're able to tell them why things don't work. And you're able to say, we can't, don't do this. So there are other committees we need to be on. We need to be on the VATS committee. You can't let the hospital buy nothing until you vetted it. There's lots of equipment they've spent money on. We could have been buying a borescope. We done bought this widget that we can't even sterilize. Because he went to a meeting and saw it, he liked it, they bought it.
Yeah.
And we don't even have the equipment to sterilize it. So you need to be, we have the policy that says they can't buy anything for surgery that is reusable until it has gone through SPD to be vetted. But when you don't know, you don't know. So we have evolved. Our profession has evolved. We know that we're important in that respect.
And your name and your position will be respected once you understand that your presence has to be respected first. And in order to be, present, you gotta be present. You gotta be involved. So if you want them to respect your name or your position, you definitely have to make sure that you're present and your presence is respected as such. Then you'll be able to make whatever moves you have to make. So sometimes that means being a part of more committees than you want to be. But if you have an ultimate goal of getting to the boardroom or being respected, you got to be a part of those committees anyway. So why not go ahead and get a part of those committees right now while the getting is good? Sandra had a question, and then it was Joanne, and then Avery. We're going to finish with Avery.
All right. You often say from the basement to the boardroom. What specific actions are being taken to ensure SPD has a voice at the table where key clinical decisions are being made?
First is what we're doing to get more SPD leaders to, one, believe that they can get to the boardroom, but the second thing that we're doing is through our leadership development program, our Next Up Leadership, which is truly elevating leaders to be leaders and not just be paper leaders. In my fraternity, we had were your paper or you what we call made. Made means you did what you had to do, you did all the work, you took no shortcuts. Paper means you just went and signed up and said, hey, I'm part of the fraternity. And now both of you have the certification, or you say you were part of the fraternity, but there's only one that gets the real respect. Those that actually did all the work, and then the others, unless you came later, you're extremely smart or something, we'll let you come in. But that's the exception. But in that, with our emphasis on truly redefining and rebuilding what leadership looks like in this space, and then elevating our language. We have to stop talking and being like, this is how I talk and this is SPD. We have to elevate our language to be business and communicate like business leaders. We have to use the terminologies that they use. We have to use the concepts that they use. I don't know a lot of terminology in this space, but I want them to respect me, and that's the language that they know. So that's another thing that we're doing, especially with this book, with the leadership program. And the third thing that we're doing to elevate this is standardizing the operations inside of sterile processing all over the country with our Sterile By Design. We believe that if leaders can have we believe in process and people development. If you have a standard in your process in your operations and a standard of how you develop and promote leaders, those two standards alone should allow for us to be seen at the table a lot quicker because they know that we're developing and they can trust our process. That's the only thing. Good question. Joanne and then Avery. Then we're done with this session.
How do you navigate working where ethics are not being upheld?
You go first, Derrick. You keep
Oh,
going.
we got the best right here. Come on. You said it all.
What do you mean by ethics are not being upheld?
Yeah.
How do I say it? Where it's like a power didactic, like there's no unification.
Yeah.
We're creating division, simply because there's, I don't know, I think I can't quite pinpoint it, but
So is it ethics when it comes to how trays are being assembled, sterilized, and put together, or is it ethics when it comes to leading
when
people?
it comes to leading.
Okay. So, let me go first.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
That's a rough one there.
Right? That is up to perspective, perception, and what culture is accepted. And this is, when we talk about standardizing, this is another reason why it's important, because it's kind of hard to hold someone accountable to operate in a specific way if they've never been chastised for that way, They've been allowed to do that way, or they come from a culture even operating that way. So unless the hospital system completely commits, or your department completely commits to creating a standard for how we communicate, how we lead, how leaders are selected, how talent is developed, if there is no process or standard for that, we're always going to be leading to interpretation, which is like an open book, like how I feel, kind of how this thing is, kind of like, it's that thing. But if I know I cannot become this leader until I've shown this, and how they decide who it is based on a point system of who really performs the best and who fits this role the best without personal emotions or feelings, if there's no standard to that, we'll always feel like people are subjugated to dealing with someone they like more or giving somebody else a little bit more credence than other than that. You're leaving it to your perception of what you believe ethics and integrity is versus someone else's belief in ethics and integrity. And offense and defense sound the same in basketball and football. But offense and defense are two total different things from basketball or Paul football. He just like to tackle people all the time, Paul. So even when we communicate, I can say, hey, score the ball. Paul may throw it. And you say, no, this is basketball. You got to dribble it and you got to shoot it. But I'm leaving it to interpretation on how you are taking offense or defense or whatever leading style that this person is. But if we have a standard, I know you know the standard. We all operate based on the standard. You are promoted because of the standard. You're in this role because of the standard. When it even comes to how you do handoffs, how you do SOPs, everything goes back to standardization. The more you can standardize, the more you can be able to see who's actually good at what they do versus who's hiding behind the scenes. So the only way you can fix that is if we continue to advocate to our leadership that you need SIPs to come in and standardize. That's pretty much it. You got to have us come in and standardize. And then after you standardize, we can begin to optimize and begin to get better. But we have to have a general code that you go on that everybody knows. You know the game, you know the rules, and this is why the military creates the best leaders. Because they all got the same code. You go to the same officer school, you go to the same training school, you got to go to the same leadership officer 2 school, lieutenant school. And we got to have that same flow within our industry so that we can be able to grow and excel and hold everyone accountable to the same exact thing. It's like creating regulations for people in ops.
Policy.
Yep. All right, Avery.
Yes, this question is specifically tailored to any type of managerial role, whether it's a director, manager, supervisor, or even a lead tech. So my question is, for someone who may be experiencing politics within a department or organization, I think we've all experienced politics at any point. But for someone who's directly experiencing politics and it's making it difficult for them to actually be a part of the change, what advice would you have for them in terms of helping them navigate those hurdles that's in front of them?
I'm gonna make a change.
For me, when it comes to politics, let me just say, sterile processing has the most politics. It's one of the smallest departments with the most confusion I've ever seen with the fewest people. We can keep a whole lot of confusion out. I don't know necessarily there's politics. It has a lot to do with what Dr. Jake says, feelings, and I don't like you, and you looked at me funny, and we got a clique over here, and we got a silo over here. I think that as the manager, you have to come in and first of all, expose everybody when you come in new. These silos got to go. This concept of Dr. J don't like Derrick got to go. Because I didn't hide, y'all not hide to like each other. We had to do a process. Now, if we can work together and be friendly, that makes the work better. But I go in telling people they did not hire me to have friends. That's why I have friends outside. They hired me to do a process and a job within the department. I don't like Dr. Jake any better than I like Derrick. I may not talk to Dr. Jake as much as Derrick, because Derrick always in trouble. It's not because I like Derrick.
This ain't true.
Because I'm trying to get Derrick out of the department.
Hold up, that.
Low-hanging fruit. So, politics, sometimes I've heard people say, my manager really likes so-and-so better than she likes me. I always say, do the investigation. Who told you your manager liked Derrick better than Dr. J? Well, first of all, you don't want to tell me that, because snitches get stitches. I need to know where this is coming from, and I need to be clear at the meeting with everybody. There's no big you, no little I. We all here to do a specific job. It's not about likes and dislikes. We're not Democrats, Republicans, or independents. We are here to do a job for the patient. And I will not tolerate, and usually my mission statement at my job will not tolerate the politics that happens in the department where you split down with who likes who. That's for me, that's not acceptable. And so I don't know about politics. I've had to break down silos, and I've had to bring people together and say, help me understand, Derrick, why Dr. Jake said you don't like him, and and I will play you against each other. That's just me, because you told me that Dr. Jake said you was a fish-eye food, and Dr. Jake told me he didn't say that. He said you was a fish. So I bring both of y'all into the room together, and I say, Dr. Jake, tell Derrick what you told me. Derrick, tell Dr. Jake what you told me.
Fish-eye food.
Now we both here together, and what we find is that that's not what was said. And that what actually happened was, I'm just using her, Lysandra told Dr. J something that wasn't true. And instead of doing an investigation, you ran with it. Now I think that Lysandra and Derrick will tell you this about me. I'm all about investigation. Don't tell me a story.
Half information.
Because I'm going to say, what? You don't tell me that. I wrote that down. Then I'm going to say, why? Then when you tell me something different further down, I'm going to go back and say, wait a minute. Earlier you said the door was open.
You said
The door was open.
That's what you do.
Now you say it was closed. Was it closed or was it open? Then you said, well, I don't know, because I wasn't there. Oh, so now we're working on third-party information that's not even admissible in court. So that's the way I do investigations in my department. And people, I didn't have a lot of politics because they didn't want to go through the investigation.
And I'll say also we have to allow the policies to allow us to hold our teams accountable to the code of conduct. It's just as simple as black and white. We can't make it personal, and we got to use the written paper documents to regulate behaviors. Just that simple.
And I think that both of those answers are correct in a standardized world, because she holds people to the letter of the standard, and you were mentioning, hey, to the policy. Well, it depends on how thorough somebody's policy is. So I would tell you, just like I would tell anybody, politics isn't everything. Somebody gonna like it, ain't gonna like it because you're white. Somebody ain't gonna like it because you're black. Somebody ain't gonna like it because you're Indian, Persian, Italian, Hispanic. Everyone is going to have a bias. So your job is to figure out, how can I still get what I need while still navigating through these biases? It's coming with, is understanding that this is the game. There are certain positions at certain facilities that are held for certain types of people. And it's not a lot of times because they don't even like you. A lot of times it has a lot to do with what they're familiar and comfortable with. I need a person that's like this. I may want somebody that's from East Texas. Not because East Texas has everything great, but because I may be a country boy, and I just like the pace of somebody from an area that I can kind of communicate with on an ongoing basis. So your job, I would tell anybody, if you want to beat politics, learn everybody. Learn everyone's behaviors, learn everyone's culture, get to know everyone's music, get to taste everyone's food. Try to understand everything from anyone's perspective in their shoes, Because the more you can identify with people and find commonality, that's going to help you commune to communicate. Like, oh, you like this music? I do too. What? You know how many conversations we were able to break through from playing Dean Martin? They're like, what you know about the Rat Pack? Boy, I tell you right now. And then another person golfing. And another person playing basketball. Another person may be style, outfit, shoes. So I'm trying to figure out how to navigate politics by learning people who are being political. So you're always going to deal with that. You're always going to have boundaries and barriers. And a lot of them are set to see if you can navigate around them. It just is what it is. So if I accept that game and know that, if I want to be a leader and I aspire to be a leader, your job is, in this seat that I'm in, if people like me or dislike me or in a toxic environment, how can I become number one here? How can I become number one here? How can I become the number one in decon? How can I become number one in assembly? How can I become the number one person that people call to, they know I'm going to answer? And if I focus on just becoming the number one most valuable person there, typically the winner is who cuts through all politics. If you're somebody that you are who you say that you are, people will leave, they're going to talk about you. It ain't your job to defend yourself. It's your job to show up every day and prove I'm really that person. And that's how you cut through. So if you're a leader and you feel stuck, be better than everybody. You ain't got to talk and say you're better than everybody. Prove it through your work. Stop gossiping. Don't have those cycles. What SGG said. Oh, you said something? I ain't about to be in none of this. Derrick, come on. Avery, come on. They said this. And I don't want to say nothing. So what is true? What are you doing? You're practicing to be in the position now because it's already done. So if I'm not a manager, I'm going to practice being a great manager as a Tech 1. So that when I do become a manager, I'm exactly where I want to be, or a director, or an executive, or a VP. All right, so
I say the same thing different. He says it so much more eloquently.
Yes, he does. Me
Do
too.
not be a garbage can top. Never allow anybody to bring you garbage. When people bring me garbage, gossip, and craziness, I say, am I a garbage can top? Because you brought me garbage. And why do you think so low of me that you're bringing me garbage? That's just the real thing. To my staff, don't bring me no garbage.
Yeah.
Bring me facts, not fiction.
Yeah.
You know, they be like, oh, Ms. Golden, facts, not fiction.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a garbage can top.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking this gossip that, number one, usually has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with our job.
That's right.
And here we are supposed to be getting trays together.
Yeah.
We over here, your eyes is crossed, mine is crossed, because we don't like Dr. Jake no more. Why? Because somebody said, who got fired, that somebody said. And when in reality, at the end of the investigation, that's not what was said. It was nowhere near what was said. It had nothing to do with any of us.
Yeah.
So I tell people, I will not allow you. The other thing I said is, don't bring me a bone. Don't bring me no bones. I like meat. Don't bring me no bones over here. And so my team learned, leave Miss Gold, don't go tell her nothing unless you ready to.
Go all the way there, because we're going to investigate.
Going.
So if we were to close this first episode in season 2 with something that you want to leave the live audience with, and those that you want to actually leave with that may be watching the replay online, Derrick, what's one thing that you would leave them with?
I would just say be the change that you want to be. Begin to do the work and do the role that you desire to get to. That's something I'm taking from it.
And SGG?
Watch SPD911. I need y'all to watch us, to look us up and find us. Send questions in. Send questions real time, reality, so that we can work on finding answers for you all that really work towards what you need.
That's right.
Understand we don't have all the answers. Some of these answers are from experience, through being in the trenches, but if you don't ask, you'll never know.
And if you see one of our clips and you have some information to give it. If it makes things better, you hear something different, it's not about us being right, it's about us working together to be right as a collective. And the one thing that I will leave you with is this. if what we've been doing would get us there, we would have already been there. So we have to all collectively decide that we're going to be different, we're going to expect greater, so that we can take ourselves from the basement in the boardroom. I don't want to talk about it, I want us to be about it. And it starts with you realizing that if you are as important as you know you are, step up to the plate and show the world that you are. And that's a wrap.